All right, time for some tough love about your eating habits. I know. You're eating quote unquote healthy. You buy organic, you avoid gluten, you drink green smoothies, you read labels, you follow food bloggers on Instagram. But you're still carrying around an extra 20 to 40 pounds and wondering why nothing works. You've tried keto, paleo, intermittent fasting, Weight Watchers, and the freaking weird cabbage soup diet that your coworker swore by. Welcome back to Straight Talk with Abby, the audio series that cuts the fluff, brings the science, and busts the myths about fitness after 40. I'm your host, Abby, and today we're going to talk about why your relationship with food is sabotaging everything you're trying to accomplish. And fair warning, this is going to hurt a little bit, but sometimes the truth hurts before it helps. Let's get into it. Let's start with the elephant in the room. You eat like a toddler. Not what you eat, but how you eat. Think about it. When did you last eat a meal sitting down without distractions, actually paying attention to your food? If you're like most people over 40, you can't remember. Let me paint a picture of your typical eating day. You grab coffee and maybe a protein bar on the way to work. You snack on nuts or fruit at your desk around 10 a.m. You eat lunch while answering emails or attending a lunch meeting. You have a handful of crackers or another coffee at 3 p.m. because you're tired. You grab dinner while helping kids with their homework or standing in the kitchen. And you finish the day with just a small bowl of ice cream while watching Netflix. Oh, and you probably had a few bites of your kids left over somewhere in there too. Your body has no idea when it's fed because you've never actually stopped to feed it. You're in a constant state of semi-satisfied, but never actually satiated. Here's what this does to your hunger and satiety signals. It completely screws them up. Your body is designed to have clear periods of eating and not eating. When you're constantly grazing, your insulin is constantly elevated. Your leptin signaling gets disrupted, and your body never gets the signal that it's actually been fed. Think about it from an evolutionary perspective. Your ancestors had clear meals followed by periods of not eating. Your body is designed for this pattern. The constant grazing pattern is a modern invention, and your biology hasn't caught up. But it's not just about hormones. When you eat while distracted, you don't register the food psychologically. You can eat an entire sleeve of crackers while working and not even remember eating them. Your brain never got the satisfaction signal because it was focused on something else. Studies show that people who eat while distracted consume 25 to 50% more calories than people who eat mindfully. That's not a small difference. That's the difference between maintaining your weight and gaining 25 to 50 pounds per year. Your 25-year-old self could get away with mindless eating because your lifestyle was more active and your hormones were a lot more forgiving. Your 45-year-old self needs structure. Here's what structured eating looks like. 3 meals per day, eaten sitting down, without distractions, with clear start and stop points. Revolutionary concept. I know. And before you say, I don't have time, you're already spending the time eating. You're just doing it inefficiently while multitasking. Take the same 20 minutes you spend mindlessly snacking and turn it into an actual meal. Now let's talk about portions because most y'all have completely lost touch with what a normal serving size looks like. You're not eating twice as much as you should. You're eating 3 to 4 times as much, but you're doing it so gradually throughout the day that you don't even notice. Let me give you some reality checks that are going to blow your mind. A serving of nuts is about 1 ounce. That's roughly 20 to 25 almonds or 14 walnut halves. When's the last time you counted out 23 almonds? Never. You grab a handful, which is probably 2 to 3 servings, and that handful that you think is 160 calories is actually 400 to 500 calories. A serving of pasta is about 1 cup cooked, which is roughly the size of a tennis ball. Your dinner plate probably has 3 to 4 cups. That normal pasta dinner is actually 800 to 1,000 calories before you add sauce and cheese. A serving of wine is 5 ounces. Your glass of wine with dinner is probably 8 to 10 ounces in one of those massive wine glasses everyone has now. You think you're having 125 calories of wine, but you're actually having 200 to 250. A serving of olive oil is 1 tablespoon. That's 120 calories, but you're probably using 2 to 3 tablespoons when you cook, plus another tablespoon in your salad dressing. That's an extra 240 to 360 calories that you do not even think about. A serving of avocado is about 1/3 of a medium avocado, but you're probably eating a whole avocado and thinking it's healthy, so it doesn't count. But that's an extra 160 calories. The thing is this, all of these foods are healthy. I'm not saying nuts, olive oil, avocados, or even wine are bad. I'm just saying you're eating 3 to 4 times more than you think you are and wondering why the scale won't budge. The average restaurant meal is 2 to 3 times larger than it was in the 1970s. Your dinner plates are larger. Your coffee cups are larger. Your wine glasses are larger. Welcome to our world of supersized. Everything has gotten bigger, and your perception of normal has shifted with it. But it's not just about the size of the portions, it's about the frequency. You used to eat 3 meals a day. Now you eat 3 meals plus 2 snacks plus weekend treats plus special occasion foods plus just a taste of various things throughout the day. The solution isn't to never eat nuts or pasta again, but it's to actually pay attention to how much you're eating and to eat appropriate portions for your goals and activity level. So here's a simple way to eyeball portions without measuring everything. For protein, think about it like a palm-sized portion, which is about 3 to 4 ounces. Vegetables, a fist-sized portion. And that's really as much as you want, really, assuming you're not putting a bunch of butter and stuff on it. Carbs, cupped hand portion, which is about a half cup. And fats, a thumb-sized portion, which is equivalent to about a tablespoon. Now, this isn't perfect, but it's a hell of a lot better than just guessing or eating until you're stuffed. Now, let's talk about the real issue. You're not eating because you're hungry. A lot of the times you're eating because you're stressed, you're bored, tired, happy, sad, celebrating, commiserating, or because it's Tuesday. At age 40 plus, you've got stress that your 25-year-old self couldn't even imagine. Mortgage payments, teenagers, aging parents, career pressure, relationship issues, health concerns. Food became your coping mechanism somewhere along the way. And now it's your default response to almost every emotion. You had a hard day, so you deserve a treat. You're celebrating a promotion, so food is involved. You're stressed about money, so food makes you feel better temporarily. You're bored on a Sunday afternoon, so you wander to the kitchen to see what's going on. You're tired after a long day, so you reward yourself with something sweet. Here's the brutal truth. Food can't fix your problems. It can only temporarily distract you from them while creating new ones. Think about it. Has eating ever actually solved a single problem in your life? Has ice cream ever paid your mortgage? Has pizza ever improved your relationship? Has wine ever made your boss less of an asshole? No. But these foods do provide temporary comfort, distraction, and pleasure. And in a world full of stress and responsibility, that temporary relief feels necessary. But the problem is that emotional eating becomes a habit loop. Stress triggers eating. Eating provides temporary relief. The original problem is still there. Plus, now you feel guilty about eating, which creates more stress, which triggers more eating. So, let me break down the most common emotional eating triggers for the age 40 plus crowd. Stress eating. This is the big one. Your cortisol is elevated, your blood sugar is dysregulated, and your brain is looking for energy and comfort. High calorie, high carb foods provide them both. I call this eating away your feelings. Boredom eating. You've got downtime, which is really rare, and your brain defaults to food for entertainment. And this is especially common on weekends or evenings when you finally have a moment to breathe. Reward eating. You've been good all day or all week, so you deserve something special. This is diet mentality at its worst, treating food as a reward for behavior. Social eating. Every social situation revolves around food. Happy hour, dinner parties, date nights, family gatherings. Food has become the social lubricant for everything. Habitual eating. You eat at certain times or in certain situations, not because you're hungry, but because that's what you always do. TV and snacks, wine and cooking, coffee and pastries. Deprivation eating. You've been restricting during the week, so you go overboard on the weekends, or you've been good all day, so you binge at night. The solution isn't to never eat for emotional reasons again, because that's not realistic or even necessary. But the solution is to develop a toolkit of coping strategies that don't involve food. So when you're stressed out, go for a quick walk, do some breathing exercises, call a friend, take a hot shower, do some light stretching, journal about what's bothering you. When you're bored, have a list of non-food activities ready. Read a book, organize a closet, work on a hobby, call someone you haven't talked to in a while. For a reward, find non-food ways to celebrate and reward yourself. Buy something small, take a bath, watch a movie, get a massage. For social, suggest a non-food social activity or focus on the social aspect rather than the food when you do eat socially. The key is to pause between the trigger and the eating. Ask yourself, am I actually really hungry or am I feeling something else? If you're feeling something else, address that feeling directly instead of using food to numb it. Now let's talk about the diet mentality, because this is probably doing more damage than anything else. You think in terms of good foods and bad foods. You're either on a diet or off a diet. You're either being good or you're cheating. This black and white thinking is keeping you stuck in a cycle of restriction and binging. Here's how it usually plays out. You decide to be good starting Monday and you eat perfectly for 3 days. Then something happens. You have a stressful day or there's cake at the office. You go out for dinner and you eat something that's not on your diet. Instead of just moving on, you think, well, I really screwed that up, so I might as well eat whatever I want for the rest of the day or the week. And then Monday comes back around and you start the cycle all over again. Sound familiar? This mentality is so toxic because it creates an unhealthy relationship with food where your self-worth is tied to what you eat. You're either a good person or a bad person based on food choices. But real life doesn't work in absolutes. You're going to eat cake at birthday parties, and you should. You're going to have wine on date nights. You're going to stress eat sometimes. You're going to overeat at Thanksgiving. This is normal human behavior. The goal isn't perfection, it's consistency and balance over time. Think about it like a bank account. If you spend more money than you earn occasionally, it's not a big deal as long as your overall balance stays in the positive. But the same goes with food. If you eat more calories than you burn occasionally, it's not a big deal as long as your overall balance supports your goals. But most people treat food like it's a pass or fail situation. One bad meal ruins everything. So they might as well give up until next Monday. Here's a better approach. Aim for 80% consistency. If you eat 21 meals per week, 17 of them should align with your goals. That leaves room for 4 meals that are more flexible, date nights, social events, or just because you freaking want a pizza. This approach is sustainable because it builds flexibility into your plan rather than trying to achieve impossible perfection. Another problem with the all or nothing thinking is that it leads to extreme restriction, which always backfires. When you tell yourself you can never have something again, you create scarcity around that food, which makes you want it even more. So instead of cutting out entire food groups or labeling foods as forbidden, practice moderation. Have a small piece of cake instead of the whole cake. Have 1 glass of wine instead of the whole bottle, and have a handful of chips instead of the whole bag. This requires practice because you've probably lost touch with your natural hunger and satiety cues from years of dieting and emotional eating. But you can relearn these skills with patience and practice. And the thing I always tell my clients is this: restriction promotes rebellion, whereas permission promotes progress. All right, enough psychology. Let's talk about what actually works for people over 40 who have real lives, real stress, and real responsibilities. Start with this basic framework of eating: 3 main meals plus strategic snacks. Yes, I said snacks, but we're talking about intentional, protein-focused snacks that serve a purpose, not mindless grazing. Here's the reality. Most people over 40 struggle to hit their protein targets with just 3 meals, especially if they're trying to get in 100 to 140 grams or more of protein per day. Strategic snacking can help you reach those goals without feeling stuffed at meals. So each main meal should have that palm-sized portion of protein. This is non-negotiable. A fist-sized portion of vegetables at minimum, a cup hand portion of starchy carbs, and a thumb-sized portion of healthy fats. And then each strategic snack should be primarily protein-based, like 15 to 25 grams of protein, but yet small enough that it doesn't interfere with your next meal, and have it planned in advance and not be impulsive. Good snack examples are Greek yogurt with berries, a protein shake, hard-boiled eggs, cottage cheese, beef jerky, protein bars if they're actually high in protein and not candy bars in disguise. This isn't a diet, it's a framework. Within this framework, you can eat whatever you want as long as it fits the portions and includes all the components. So prioritize your protein because this is the most important nutritional strategy for people over 40. Protein is going to help preserve your muscle mass, it increases satiety, it has a high thermic effect, and it helps to stabilize your blood sugar. Aim for about 25 to 40 grams of protein at each meal. And this might seem like a lot if you're used to having toast for breakfast, a salad for lunch, and pasta for dinner, but it's necessary. And good protein sources, besides the ones I've already mentioned, are eggs, chicken, fish, lean beef, turkey, tofu, tempeh, legumes, and protein powder. Start every meal by eating your protein first because this will help you feel satisfied and prevent overeating on the less nutrient-dense foods. Fill half your plate with vegetables at lunch and dinner because this provides fiber, micronutrients, and volume without a lot of the calories. So don't overthink which vegetables. Any vegetables are better than no vegetables. Frozen vegetables are fine. Canned vegetables are fine. Whatever you'll actually eat consistently. If you hate vegetables, start small. Add some spinach to your eggs. Put vegetables in your pasta sauce. Blend them into smoothies. The goal is progress, not perfection. With carbohydrates, you don't have to avoid them all the time, but timing them strategically can help with energy levels and body composition. Focus most of your starchy carbs around your workouts when your muscles are most insulin sensitive and can best utilize the glucose for fuel and recovery. On non-workout days, get most of your carbs from vegetables and fruits rather than grains and starches. This isn't a hard rule, but it can help optimize energy and body composition. With your hydration, you want to make sure you drink water with every meal and snack. Often when you think you're hungry between meals, you're actually just thirsty. A good rule of thumb is to drink half your body weight in ounces of water per day, plus extra for exercise and hot weather. Coffee and tea count towards your fluid intake, but spoiler alert, alcohol doesn't. So for kitchen cleanup, do this each night after eating dinner and just come up with the mindset that the kitchen is closed. This isn't negotiable for most people because nighttime eating is usually emotional eating or habitual eating, not hunger. If you're generally hungry after dinner, you probably didn't eat enough protein or vegetables at dinner. Have a cup of herbal tea or do something else to signal that eating time is over. Weekend strategy. This is where most people go off the rails. You eat well Monday through Friday, then completely abandon all structure on the weekends. Weekends should be more flexible, but not completely different. You can have a special meal or treat, but don't use the weekend as an excuse to eat everything that you restricted during the week. Plan your weekend indulgences instead of just winging it. If you know you're going out for dinner Saturday night, eat normally the rest of the weekend. Prep work. You don't need to meal prep like a bodybuilder, but having some basic prep done makes healthy eating so much easier during the busy week. Wash and chop vegetables when you get home from the grocery store. Cook a batch of protein at the beginning of the week. Have easy protein options available for busy days. The goal is to make healthy eating convenient and unhealthy eating inconvenient. Look, changing your relationship with food, it's not easy. You've been using food as entertainment, comfort, reward, and punishment for decades. These are deeply ingrained habits that will not change overnight. But you're not 25 anymore. You can't out-exercise a bad relationship with food, and you can't supplement your way out of emotional eating patterns. But the good news, you're old enough to have developed some self-discipline and wisdom. You understand that quick fixes don't work. You're capable of thinking long-term and making decisions based on what you want, not just what you feel in the moment. Start with one change. Maybe it's eating 3 structured meals instead of grazing all day. Maybe it's adding protein to every meal. Maybe it's stopping the nighttime snacking. Pick one thing and do it consistently for 2 weeks before adding anything else. Your relationship with food should enhance your life, not control it. Food should give you energy, satisfaction, and pleasure without guilt, shame, or obsession. You can have a healthy relationship with food at any age, but it requires intention, practice, and patience with yourself. Thanks for listening to Straight Talk with Abby. If this episode hit you where you needed it, here's what I want you to do. First, share this with someone who needs to hear it. Transformation is contagious, and you never know who's waiting for exactly this message. Second, if you're ready to stop starting over and start becoming the unstoppable version of yourself, I've got something for you. My audiobook, Your Breakthrough Era, Unstoppable Starts Here, is now available on Audible, iTunes, and Amazon. It's the deeper dive into everything we talk about here. And if you're ready to go all in on your fitness transformation, check out my program, Unstoppable 2.0, my 12-week program that combines fitness, mindset, and identity work to help you become who you're meant to be. You can find all the details at yourfitnesscheck.com. Remember, your breakthrough era doesn't start when you feel ready. It starts when you decide you're ready. I'll see you next time for more Straight Talk. Until then, keep breaking through.